Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new edition of our daily debate. In today's edition, we are going to talk about the latest developments in the Gaza Strip. Ever since the escalation in Gaza, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi keeps reviewing the Egyptian efforts to support the Palestinian people and to alleviate the deteriorating humanitarian conditions inside of the enclave in coordination with the different UN bodies and the friendly countries. The assistance and relief that Egypt's government and people have been providing to the people in Gaza is representing the majority of the total aid offered to the people in Gaza. Such assistance reflected the critical importance for the international community to assume its responsibilities in this regard so as to enforce the delivery of relief into the Gaza Strip in line with the relevant UN Security Council and the General Assembly resolutions. Tonight we are shedding light about that with our dear guest in the studio, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, our political analyst. Good afternoon to you, sir, and thank you so much for being our guest.
Thank you for inviting me. Appreciate it.
And indeed, before starting our interview here, we are going to tackle the latest in Egypt, where President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi received the delegation from the United Kingdom House of Commons Foreign Affairs Committee, led by the committee's chair, Alicia Kirans, on Wednesday. During the meeting, President Sisi has called upon the international community to fulfill its responsibility in safeguarding the Palestinians from the ongoing humanitarian disaster they are enduring, reiterating that the humanitarian situation in Gaza will not tolerate further delay in definitive solutions towards a ceasefire. The president emphasized that a lasting and just resolution to the tensions in the Middle East lies in the establishment of an independent Palestinian state in accordance with the international resolutions. The delegation expressed deep appreciation for Egypt's balanced and responsible role in containing the turmoil, tensions and conflicts in the region. They affirmed the UK's position on the necessity of achieving a sustainable ceasefire in the Gaza Strip and promoting peace in the region, while expressing the support for Egypt's efforts in this regard. The International Monetary Fund has agreed to increase its loan to Egypt from $3 billion to $8 billion. The announcement was made by Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli. That was during a press conference held on Wednesday. According to Prime Minister Madbouli, Egypt will also receive the soft loans from the World Bank and the European Union. Ivana Valenkova-Holler, the IMF's mission chief, commanded that Egypt for implementing effective measures to improve its economy. Holler specifically lauded the country's endeavors to attract foreign investments and its commitments to enhancing the living standards of the citizens through comprehensive social protecting programs. Now, our dear viewers will be watching this report shedding light on the 161st regular session of the Council of League of Arab States at the level of the foreign ministers that took place today, with the situation in Palestine on top of the agenda.
The 161st regular session of the Council of the League of Arab States at the level of foreign ministers began this Wednesday morning at the headquarters of the General Secretariat of the Arab League in Cairo, headed by the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Arab Republic of Mauritania, Mohammed Salim Wild Marzouk, and with the participation of the Secretary General of the League of Arab States, Ahmed Abul Ghit. The work of the 161st regular session of the Arab League Council at the ministerial level witnessed the presidency of the session being handed over to the Republic of Mauritania from Moroccan Foreign Minister Nasser Bourita, the president of the previous 160th session of the Arab League Council. The session discussed the agenda submitted by the General Secretariat of the League of the Arab States, various political, social, legal and financial issues, the situation in the Arab League and the developments in the situation in the Palestinian territories in light of the brutal aggression against the Gaza Strip and the Palestinian people by Israel, given that the Palestinian issue has been the central Arab issue, as well as its impact and repercussions on security and stability in the region. It's worth mentioning that the meeting of the Arab foreign ministers also discussed preparations for the agenda of the 33rd Arab Summit scheduled to be held in the Kingdom of Bahrain next May, and discussed matters related to the Arab national security, ways to support the Palestinian National Authority financially and politically, and other issues in the region.
Welcome back, our dear viewers. We start here our interview with Engineer Hassan Shabaan, our very dear politician. Sir, how do you read this in light of Egypt's relentless effort to reach a comprehensive solution to the horror unfolding the border here? How do you see all the developments taking place with the 161 session taking place of the foreign ministers of the Arab states?
Well, definitely Egypt is exerting a lot of efforts to reach a ceasefire, a long-lasting ceasefire that will allow negotiations to take place, and we might be able to reach a happy ending in the end of this ceasefire. But again, I think there is a lot of obstacles that faces this from the Israeli side. They keep on trying to annihilate the Hamas troops, and in my humble opinion, I don't think that Hamas will quit. They don't have anything to lose. They're fighting a fight that nobody else ever, since this conflict started, 1948, have done what they've done, actually. This war is on Palestinian ground. Israel is suffering from heavy casualties. The negative immigration from Israel to abroad is taking place. A huge number of Israelis are migrating opposite direction.
Yes.
I think we're witnessing a new era in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In the past, when there used to be a war between Israel and the Arab countries,
Yes.
We always wondered, why didn't the Palestinians move inside Israel while the war is taking place in Sinai or in Golan, or,
Yes.
you know. I think the Palestinians were optimistic at that time. They thought that the Arab armies will actually be able to defeat and score the victory in the end. But as time goes by, I think the Palestinians have matured, and they discovered that nobody will liberate
Their lands.
their land for
Indeed,
them,
yes.
and they have to continue to pay dearly for their freedom, and I think they're doing very well. I think no matter what we try to do and try to reach a ceasefire or something close to it,
Yes.
I think this conflict will last for a whole year. I mean, it started in the
7th of October, yes.
And it will continue for the next 6 months, just to get closer to the American election due date. And I think everybody is witnessing a change in the general opinion, the public opinion in the U.S. A lot of people think that the U.S. is giving up its principles, and I don't think that what happened like 300 years ago or 250 years ago, when the the U.S. was established,
Yes.
and that was on, they assumed that was on no man land, actually.
Yes.
And they actually done what they've done. At that time, there was no media, there was no press.
It was different.
Right. So actually, whatever crimes that were committed at that time in
For the
America,
natives.
right, for the natives, of course. Really, nobody really knew about it at that time, and we all fell in love with with John Wayne, the cowboy.
Yeah.
And it's about time to really reevaluate things.
Indeed.
We all believe in the American principles of democracy and freedom and everything, but we urge the U.S. to apply this and put it to use now in our area, because it's about time that this area should enjoy some peace and tranquility. So I think the Palestinians will go on to make a mark, and I think both candidates in the U.S., Democratic or Republican,
Yes.
will definitely consider the public opinion in the U.S. During the elections, and
Yes.
I think finally we might be able to reach a happy ending and see a Palestinian state.
Sir, what is expected from the international community in this regard, as witnessed today in the very meeting of the foreign ministers? The delegation expressed deep appreciation for the Egyptian balance and responsible role in containing the turmoil, the tensions and the conflicts in the region, and they expressed their support to Egypt in that regard. Yet, we did not see concrete positive action till this very moment from the international community. How do you see that? And are we going to witness here some change of stances in the coming days?
Well, everybody actually is really disappointed. We expected a lot more than this from the governments. There is a very strange type of silence, actually, for what's going on in Gaza, actually.
Yes.
You're just exterminating the Palestinians. You're just wiping out. And you think that you're going to be able to, finish the case this way, actually. I don't think that this case will ever finish this way. We have to really read the book properly. I think when you have a desperate nation that doesn't have any choice but to fight to get its freedom, I think if the struggle and the fight keeps on going on, it could escalate and it could not escalate. But again, you should always watch a desperate soldier who have nothing to lose. It's life or death to him. It's all the same.
Indeed.
So you're fighting a soldier that doesn't really care for his life. He wants freedom or death. It makes he will not retreat. So we all are witnessing a lot of this strange attitude from countries that used to claim that they are supporting the Palestinian cause, like Iran and a lot of countries, actually. We have to remember one thing. We have to remember that during the fall of the Soviet Union, there is a lot of strategic atomic weapons disappeared from the Soviet arsenal. These things did not really just evaporate. Somebody actually definitely purchased these things. And, once you hear an Israeli minister saying that Israel might have to use atomic weapon to annihilate the Palestinians, you're opening a door that you might not be able to close it actually, because it works both ways. If you are classifying Hamas as a terrorist group, they might have a device that could be used in a desperate moment. So do not push your enemy to a blocked end and prevent him from freedom. You're doing a big mistake by doing this. So I think the Israelis should wise up a little bit, reason, and try to understand, you know, they had, or they started some good relations with the Gulf countries, and it's a promising era for Israel.
Yes.
I think Israel is just making a big mistake by ignoring the fact that there is a nation that requires to be free.
Yes.
We all are witnessing also the Palestinian Authority in Ariha. They are just witnessing what's going on, and they're not really interfering in the conflict. Hopefully, this authority will be in charge of running things in Gaza once this menagerie is over. So I think we will see a lot of activities in the near future.
Yes.
But on the other side, the solutions that are put on the table are not really very satisfactory to the Palestinians. So I think the whole area should have a lot of political imagination, how to develop the area to make the people in the whole area feel the benefit of peace. I think Egypt have a very good chance, because Egypt is a neighbor,
of course,
to both Palestine and to Israel.
Yes.
And a lot of people think that Egypt should offer more solutions for the Palestinians and accommodate Palestinians and so forth. I think Egypt should have a lot of plans to use the situation for an everlasting peace, meaning we could use the extra water that goes to the Gulf of Aden in Ethiopia. Ethiopia loses about 400 million cubic meter of fresh water that seeps from the Ethiopian plateau to the Gulf of Aden. Every year, I mean, this is yearly. And I think with some finance from our brothers in the Gulf, and the Israelis should use their influence and their good relation with Ethiopia, a lot of this water could be saved.
Yes.
And actually, we could have projects to utilize this amount of water to the benefit of all the countries. We could even, in Egypt, double our amount of water that we're getting from the River Nile, if we all reach a happy ending. This will help the people in the area settle. I mean, at one time, the Israelis were talking about swapping land. They take a piece of land in the south of Rafah, and they give Egypt an opposite piece of land in the desert of Nakib. If Israel is ready to do that, why don't you just settle the Palestinians in the desert of Nakib, and we will all supply the water from Ethiopia through the new projects that we are all going to share, and turn the Nakib desert to an oasis. And Israel, of course, will benefit from this water, as well as our brothers in Palestine. So we need to actually just have some political imagination. We should utilize our resources in the Middle East, in the Gulf,
Yes.
to the benefit of peace in the Middle East.
Sorry for interruption here, Ambassador Shabaan, but how do the Israelis think? Because do we see here a partner that needs to reach peace, or they just want some violence on the ground, killing of civilians, and are we seeing here a partner that wants to coexist in the region?
Let me put it this way. There was a book long time ago in the early 70s that was published. The name of the book was The Virgin Soldier. I assure you that even if the Arabs at one time won a war against Israel,
Yes.
they couldn't throw about 4 million Jewish people into the Mediterranean. That was some idiotic ideas. Everybody will have to learn to live in peace if they want to survive. The Israelis are there, the Palestinians are there. They're both facts. The Israelis thought at one time that the solution of two nations means one nation in Gaza and another nation in Ariha. That was the solution, not
Yes.
an Israeli country. Also, I would, once peace is taking place, actually, a lot of people are talking about the Israelis are dreaming of to expand from the Euphrates to the River Nile and all this. I think this is historic illusion because, the Jew existed in the area and lived in peace for decades and decades, centuries.
Yes.
So they will live among us just like anybody else, like any minority. So the door is open. They will
Yes.
never.
But is this the way of thinking of the Zionist mentality that we are seeing in Israel nowadays? Because it's different than the normal Jews. We are not talking
Yes,
about Jews
the
here.
Zionism, I think they will have to reconsider. Zionism is a radical move, and they have radical ideas, just like some of the Islamic radical
Extremist,
ideas,
yes.
extremist
Extremist
like any other,
ideas,
right?
yes.
So we need all of us to reconsider if it's peace or no peace. It's, are we going to develop? Are we going to use our resources to develop the area finally with no conflicts? I think, of course, some of the superpowers in the past benefited from the turmoil in the Middle East, the chaos, the area was
Yes.
always in trouble, and Israel was the representative of certain countries to actually impose a threat.
Yes.
Or so actually this philosophy should stop actually.
Yes.
I think we are witnessing new generations of Arabs now, very educated, very advanced. A lot of areas in the Middle East which enjoyed peace have developed beautifully in the Arab Gulf and so forth. They did not really have conflicts or anything, so actually they utilized their resources to their benefit, and actually they compete with any European or American city or country, So I think we deserve to live in peace. We deserve to utilize our resources to the benefit of the people of the area.
Yes.
I think superpowers like the U.S. should reconsider its philosophy, the politics in the area. I think we will, as long as we're partners, let's be partners in peace.
Yes, hope so. But first, we'll take this report, Engineer Shabaan. Since the onset of the Israeli war on Gaza, Egypt has been pushing for a ceasefire in the war-torn strip and sustained access to the humanitarian aid to alleviate the suffering of the people in Gaza. Egypt is seriously mediating with the United States, Qatar, Israel, and the Palestinian side for the swift release of detainees, captives, and Palestinian prisoners. It also works for the utmost delivery of enough humanitarian aid to end the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Gaza and save lives of Palestinians under the siege of the Israeli occupation. More details in the following report.
Since the onset of the Israeli war on Gaza, Egypt has been pushing for a ceasefire in the war-torn Strip and sustained access to humanitarian aid to alleviate the suffering of the Palestinian people in Gaza Strip. Egypt is seriously mediating with the United States, Qatar, Israel, and the Palestinian side for the swift release of detainees, captives, and Palestinian prisoners. It also works diligently for the utmost delivery of enough humanitarian aid to end the catastrophic humanitarian situation in Gaza and save the lives of the Palestinians under the siege of the Israeli occupation. In this regard, President Sisi keeps meeting with world powers for consultations on the Israeli military escalation in the Gaza Strip and endeavors to push and exert robust efforts towards stopping the escalation and salvaging the people of Gaza from unfolding humanitarian catastrophe in this sector. During these meetings, President Sisi always stresses the need for the international community to undertake its responsibilities to implement the relevant UN resolutions in order for assistance to enter in sufficient quantities to end the humanitarian plight in the sector and save the people of Gaza from the enormous suffering they are experiencing. It is also imperative for the calming efforts to lead to a just and comprehensive settlement to the Palestinian issue, which addresses the roots of the current situation, enables the Palestinian people to obtain their legitimate rights, and achieves security, development, and prosperity for all the peoples of the region. The whole world views the humanitarian responsibility Egypt has assumed in mobilizing, receiving, and assembling humanitarian assistance from all over the world, and its efforts to surmount the impediments and complexities encountered in the process of delivering this aid to the people of Gaza, which took place in full coordination with the UN and the community.
Welcome back, our dear viewers. Continuing our interview here with Engineer Hassan Shabaan, our political analyst. Sir, in his meeting with the delegation of the UK House of Commons Foreign Affairs Committee, President Sisi cautioned against the spillover of the conflict, which could jeopardize the security and stability of the whole region, highlighting the security situation in the Red Sea and, of course, the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. How do you read the President's warning in light of the situation in the Red Sea, sir?
Definitely. You see, though we are not really close to Bab el-Mandeb, but still this is the gateway to the Suez Canal, which is a very important, to us to maintain the regular flow of trade through this international waterway. We are learning the lesson right now. Egypt need to really reconsider an overseas politics, because we have to exist in the south of Bab el-Mandeb. Once this conflict is over, we're going to have to reconsider being over there one way or another.
Yes.
In a commercial way, whatever, or because a lot of countries have a military bases in Djibouti and in Somalia. But at one time, we actually studied a project where we should put a location represented by an old oil tanker, huge, like 250,000 barrel, huge tanker, and modify it and turn it to a refrigeration and preparation vessel, and have all the small vessels that go for fishing in Rashid and Damietta and Suez to fish around this oil tanker and just empty their fish and whatever they go for on this tanker. This tanker will freeze, prepare fish and everything, but again will import it to neighboring countries, or every 2 weeks it will send it to Egypt. This type of project will allow us to be present in this area. Indeed, we do not really require a military base or a naval base, but we need to be there to protect Egyptian interests. And if we put a torpedo boat over there to protect our fleet from pirates, whatever they have over there. But again, we need to have imagination. We need to have a plan to be there. Also, Egypt, if it helps establishing peace in the region, I think Egypt deserves an award because we've been working in this field of peace and so forth, and helping people, and we signing treaties and so forth. But Egypt did not benefit really enough from their efforts, from our efforts. So actually, I think we need to be given the chance to develop the way we want. Meaning, our Suez Canal is important for the whole world. But again, we are considering cooperation with our brothers in Africa. We need to be allowed to fulfill our dreams and develop, like meaning that, you know, a place like Ras Banas or Safaga should be turned to a logistic location to receive all the goods and trade coming from the Far East to the closed countries of Africa, Chad, Dahomey, Burkina Faso. All of these countries do not enjoy the privilege of having a port on a sea, whether Mediterranean or Atlantic or Red Sea. So Egypt could actually play the role of a port that receive all the goods from the Far East to these countries. If we pave a road and the BRICS companies could cooperate with us in paving this road to penetrate the heart of Africa, I think Egypt will see a boom in the agricultural sector, because all the area, the valley of Kena, the Wainat, all of this could be the fruit and the vegetable basket for these countries, because all of these closed countries do not have the refrigeration systems that required to maintain fresh food. So the canned food in the south of Egypt could actually boom and be exported to all of these countries, and we will witness a boom in these areas, as well as increase the cooperation with our brothers in Africa. A lot of ideas are there. We need, in the end of the day, we need to feel the price of helping achieving peace. Egypt is playing a very important role, though we are under a lot of pressure financially, but we reach our hand to our brothers in Palestine and try to help as much as possible, though we are suffering from these financial pressures, but we will not be able to ignore their needs, actually. So I think Egypt should be awarded for their effort to achieve peace. And we should be smart enough not to settle for, financial awards or so. We need everlasting projects that will yield, a lot of profits and create a lot of jobs for our people.
Indeed. Sir, also the ceasefire talks have been ongoing here in Cairo for 4 consecutive days, with the participation of senior negotiators from Egypt, Qatar, the United States, as well as envoys from Hamas, aiming to reach a ceasefire agreement before the start of the holy month of Ramadan. How does this reflect Egypt's pivotal role in the region? And do you expect here to reach a ceasefire during Ramadan?
Knowing our neighbors very well, I don't think they will, respect the ceasefire that we are gonna achieve. Even if we achieve a ceasefire during Ramadan, I think even Israel, if they agree to ceasefire during Ramadan, it will be just to improve the Israeli image in front of the international public opinion, right? But again, I think Israel, during this month of Ramadan, the holy month of Ramadan, will be recharging the batteries, ready for a new attack right after Ramadan. So I think this war will keep on going on unless everybody recognize that his partner deserves to live.
But any agreement here could be reached regarding the prisoners swap and all these demands by the Israelis?
I think yes, partially yes. Just to show good intentions, both sides will play this role. But again, I think Israel is targeting annihilating the Palestinians, and the Palestinians will aim always to get their freedom. So,
yes. Now, do you believe, sir, that the political solution, the two-state solution, the right of the Palestinians to have their own state with Jerusalem as its capital could be reached?
I think the whole world is reaching this conclusion, right? Yes, the two-state solution is the closest to be,
It's the only solution here that could end these circles of violence, endless circles of violence.
But again, I think the Israelis will have to respect this, and the Jew suffered for so long from infernos and so forth, as they say. But again, they actually are doing the same thing that happened to them during the Second World War to the Palestinians, and this is very strange. Actually, I think this requires psychiatric treatment.
Yes, a ceasefire actually is desperately needed, since the situation, the humanitarian situation, is very alarming. Was, as the UN announced, one step away, the 2.3 million population is actually a step away from famine. So how do you see here what would be the further consequences of expansion of the conflict in Gaza for the Middle East, as well as the whole world, with the silence of the world, with all these genocide and crimes of war taking place against the civilians?
Well, I think we will see some peace movements actually have to move toward Rafah in Gaza Strip, regardless of whether the Israelis like it or not, but they will be not armed, so Israel will not be able to commit or to continue to commit their crimes and trying to annihilate these people. These people will have to move in, regardless of the Israeli opposition, whether they like it or not, to help the Palestinians from famine, actually, because it's really reaching a point where it's going to be very difficult, yes.
Yes. Sir, actually, back to our proposal here, the proposal deal is expected to hold the fighting for at least 6 weeks and to facilitate, as we said, the release of the captives. Can we see this agreement or this deal happening on the ground soon?
I think it will happen. I think it will happen. With the pressures from Egypt and Qatar, and of course, definitely, the the other Arab countries behind Qatar and behind Egypt
Yes.
are pressuring Israel, because I think Israel should really consider the points that they scored with the United Arab Emirates and with the Saudis, when right before the conflict, and they're risking losing everything if they do not really try to abide to a ceasefire to allow the Muslims to have a
Peaceful.
peaceful Ramadan.
Yes. Sir, Egypt has repeatedly rejected the mass expulsions which would liquidate the Palestinian cause and dash hopes for a two-state solution and pose the threat to Egyptian national security. How do you read the President Sisi's reiteration on the country's rejection of the forced displacements of the Palestinians from the Gaza Strip to Egypt, labeling as was said by the President a red line?
Let me put it this way. Actually, if we go back 200 years ago, there was no borders in the area. I mean, during the Ottoman Empire, and everybody lived whatever he wants. I think once peace is established, peace should be established first. Then we should consider cooperation between Egypt and the Palestinian state. Creating industrial areas, jointly between Egyptians and Palestinians, and so forth. But first, peace should be established, and kicking the Palestinians out of Gaza is not really a solution for the problem. We need to establish peace, solid peace, and Israel will have to recognize the solution of the two states. I think the joining of the Palestinian Authority in Ariha and the people of Gaza together will strengthen the Palestinian nation. Actually, I think we will witness something soon. But again, I think this conflict will last again till the American elections. It will not end.
Why do you expect that the conflict would remain till maybe next October, as you have kindly mentioned?
Unless President Biden takes major steps to really reach an end for this conflict. Once this takes place, I think the Islamic and the Arab Americans who actually live in the States will probably be relieved, and whomever will take this step will win their votes, actually. Yes. So it's obvious in Michigan, for instance, that the majority is against what's happening, and Michigan was a state that gives indications to who's the coming president in the U.S. Right. So I hope that President Biden will be able to realize that he could score some points if he takes a drastic decision and ask Israel to cease fire during the months of Ramadan as an order.
Sir, how do you read the current scene actually in the Middle East, the whole of the Middle East region, in light of the fact that Palestine is one of the main gates to the Egyptian safety and security, as they are our closest neighbors? Yes.
Yeah. I think once the Palestinian case or conflict is resolved, we will see a completely different Middle East, actually, especially with the new changes in Saudi, the new state and the new city of Neom, close to the Palestinian state, prospective state. I think we will see a lot of developments and the benefits to the people of the area. All the people in the area will benefit from peace, actually, including our neighbors in Israel.
Yes, let's cross our fingers, sir, to see peace prevailing on the ground soon and to end the suffering of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Our dear guest, Engineer Hassan Shabaan, thank you so much for being our guest for today. Always a pleasure for us.
Thank you.
Our dear viewers, with that, we come to the end of this edition of the Daily Debate. Thank you so much for watching, and always stay tuned on Night TV International.